No doubt.
You know, I'm still alive to smell the flowers.
Absolutely. And we're trying to give you your flowers today.
I appreciate it.
No doubt. Now, you found yourself over in Japan. What led you over there and what was your experience like?
I love this story too. This is a hilarious story. Like I said, I don't know. Like I said, I'm so lucky as a person. I mean, I worked hard, but I just be falling into stuff that's crazy. So, I did a lot of work with Nujabes. We've got a bunch of songs that never even came out. Like we could have dropped the album, just And I think he was planning to drop more before, his untimely accident. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Um, but my cousin was my favorite girl cousin. What's up, Erica? She was teaching in Japan at the time in the JET program. So she had been there. I think they give you like a max of 3 years, and I don't know if she did her whole three, but she did 2 years and was like, I'm gonna come back home. She was living there, and her local bar was owned by a dude who is now his name is Hiro Kanado. If you want to follow him on socials, um, he owned a bar there, and big music, nerd, enthusiast fan, dabbler. Um, and she went to the bathroom one day and she saw my record hanging on the wall. So she comes out, she's like, yo, that's my cousin, right? So he's like, for real? He was like, oh my God, I love her. I'm a big fan. Next thing you know, I mean, so, long story short, she's calling me from the bar,
Wow.
in Japan. I'm talking to him, I'm like in my crib, like, that's my cousin. So, like, I'm in my house, like in my PJs and shit, probably like eating, like, you know, some sloppy shit or whatever, looking crazy. She's like, oh, I'm in Japan, and I'm in this bar. And, like, she's telling me the story and the shit is crazy. And I'm like, what? It's my cousin. Like, she doesn't do music. She went, she's, middle class, chick, graduated from Smith College, intellectual chick, you know what I'm saying? And she's living abroad. She's just like, yeah, I was in the bar and the record's hanging on the wall in the bathroom. I'm like, what? Slow down, say that again. And
That's
so
crazy.
yeah, she makes the introduction, and then he flies me over, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna set up all these shows for you. And he's like a super Apani fan. Okay. And I mean hip hop fan in general, but super Apani fan. Like, so he's still like a business partner to this day. Anything I do in Japan goes through him. Um,
What are the chances?
I know it's crazy, right? And that's what I said. I'm just like I'm a lucky person. Like, I don't know how it is, but when I need things, that's what I said. Like, now that I'm older, like I said, I see that. I've said it to myself. Three different things happened to me today, where I was like, "See, Apani, everything always aligns for you." You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, as I'm older, I'm just more intentional about programming and counter program, as opposed to letting things happen to me. I'm like, if you decide that you want something, it comes to you. So just get in front of things, right? Just be intentional. Like, start thinking about it first. Like, instead of just letting some shit happen, you be like, oh wow, what a cool thing to happen. I think I'll take it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. So, but anyway, let me get back to the story. But so he's like, yeah, I got these shows for you, and I got a friend that does music, and I'm gonna introduce you to him. He's got some stuff going on. I'm like, oh, okay. And this is how much you're gonna get paid while you're there, and this is the itinerary. So I had an itinerary for, I think I was there for like, oh, so my cousin was finishing her last year there. So my goal was, I think I was finishing my work there within 2 or 3 weeks. And I was staying with her in her apartment when I wasn't on the road, or I had to be in like Tokyo, or, wherever they were to record. Because I recorded music too. So I was recording, I went to do shows and just like, meet people. I was doing radio and just like connecting. So I was there for 2 weeks, building infrastructure over there. And then when I was done, I was supposed to spend the rest of the time with my cousin, and we were supposed to come back to America together because our moms were like, "Wouldn't it be nice? You guys come home together on the plane." They wanted the photo with us coming together. So I was like, "All right, I can stay." She had a place. I was getting paid And then I was being, when you go away and you're working, almost every moment of your life is paid for. If you're working, then you're kind of like a hostage all day, right? So like they've got your hotel, your itineraries planned, you have handlers, person is handing you off to another person, like, like a baton. You have to go from the studio to a show, or from the hotel to the studio to an appearance or something. If and these are people with other lives. Like when you come over, they're this is the stuff, this is what they do. So they'll come, they'll handle you, and then they go back and do whatever they do, and the next group of people will come and grab you and handle you to the next location. You know what I'm saying? And then you're just like a hostage. You're just, nobody lets you go until you finish doing your work, and then they pay you. Right? And then you're free to go do whatever you want for a little, maybe a day or two, and then they come back and handle you again. Right?
Right.
So anyhow, I went to go do the work, and his friend, who's got some stuff going on, is fucking Nujabes, right? So so we over there recording like a bunch of stuff, and I want to say, I don't know if Substantial was there. Who the hell was there? It was Substantial might have been there, because I think I saw Nujabes a couple of times, but I'm trying to think if Substantial was there in the studio. He might have been there. I think one other guy was there one other time when we were recording. I don't think it was Funky D. Oh my God, my dog busted loose. So if you see him jump into the frame, he loves me to
It's all
death.
good.
He was up there. He was in my daughter's room, and they were trying to keep him while I was talking to you. But all right, he'll be back.
Is a story to tell? Is that where you released, or is that the?
Yes, I was in Japan. So
Okay.
yeah, and also, that was, so I had one other Japan connection prior to that, which was the Mary Joy compilation. My song Narcotic, which was also one of my very first records in a compilation project. I was on the B side, and Jay Treads was on the A side. Shout out to Jay Treads. I just saw him the other night at Breeze Bruin's birthday. Um, that was cool. But yeah, so I when I went over there, I went to meet the Mary Joy guys, and you know, we connections and da, 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 da. Then I went and signed a deal with another label to do. It was a licensing deal, so they paid me for that project. I wasn't signed to them or anything, but like I said, I did a lot of that, and I was actually kind of okay, as opposed to being like signed. I was free. So as long as I had music, I would take my projects and I would, shop them to my different contacts and be like, well, who wants to, make a deal? Who wants to release it and make a deal? So sometime it would be like you know, it might be like, okay, we got a project. We want to just take. Sometimes I would shop large projects or bunches of songs. They could take a bunch. They could take one. They could take two. Whatever,
Right.
whatever, whatever check they want to cut, I'll cash it.
Right.
Right.
Was
Um.
was that
Yeah.
story to tell a Japanese release only?
Yes, but I am gonna re-release it. I mean, it made its way everywhere. It was
Right.
released in Japan, but it was like, carried by like major retailers and stuff. And I think, like record stores out here had it. Just, like honestly, it doesn't really make a difference. You know what I mean? It's just like I said, just who pays you.
Right.
Because if I record a record here, it'll wind up in the store there. If I do a project there, it'll wind up in the store here. The only difference is coming from Japan, it'll probably cost more because of like, import taxes and, different territories have different laws and different price points and stuff.
Right.
But, they also, if you're doing a project in Japan, like the ethos is different how they release things. Like it'd be like a big, crazy, package and stuff, artwork and things like that. So,
Right.
um, like I said, just different stuff. So,
Right. I believe that release was approximately 20 years ago. Can you catch us up on what you have been up to over the past couple decades?
right. So, like I said, right now I'm working on um, this project with Shabam, and the spoiler was that now, instead of Spinner doing a few tracks, it's going to be a project solely with me, Shabam, and Spinner. So it's not Polly, but it's the trio of us doing this project together. You know what I mean? As adults, right?
No.
Right. And this we plan to do, you know, just release stuff. We're gonna like Shabam and I actually, like I said, we curated some beats from other producers. So we're gonna he and I already decided that we're gonna, do the Batman and Superman thing all the fucking time. We're just gonna make music together, and maybe we'll release a long form project. Maybe we'll throw a song out. Kind of Czarface feels.
Right.
And what do you call it? I've been raising my children. That was the biggest thing that I did in my absence, and the greatest reason for my absence, right? Because actually, after Nujabes had passed, my oldest now is 14, my boy, my son, and then I have twin girls who are 12, and what do you call it? When my son was born, he was born in like May of 2010, and they were doing a Nujabes tribute, and they asked me to come out and perform, and that was like July of the same year. So they were like, but you're pregnant, and everybody's asking me like, when are you gonna come back out on the road, and when whatever. And I was just like, well, as soon as I dropped this baby, like I knew how to be a rapper, but I didn't know how to be a mom. I didn't know what it meant, So I'm like, yeah, I'll be back outside soon.
Right.
So I did. I came. I signed the contract. Like I said, the checks was cashing. I took the check. I wanted to. I've been doing it for so long. I love making music, right? I was starting to get to like my little burnout phase because that's, I was 35 when I had my son.
Mm.
So I just told my age, but I was 35 when I had my son.
Don't worry.
So,
I'm saying
right,
that. So that's all good.
right. So, I waited a while. I didn't even know if I was gonna really have kids, but I think I was just at a time in my life where I needed to fill, you know, to fill my heart with other things. You know what I mean? Like I said, music is hard, but that's business. That's not like personal. And so much of myself, like I said, just social life, everything is just kind of like centered in the same place. And I think it was just sucking all the air out the room, like at this point, and I was becoming a different. Like 35, like I've been doing this since I was a kid. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, I was just feeling away. You know what I mean? And I didn't understand it at the time, but anyhow, I wound up, you know, um, having my son, and I didn't know I was gonna love being a mom so much, and I loved being pregnant. You know what I mean? And then I went to Japan, farthest side of the world that I could possibly go, for 2 weeks, and left my new baby who had just been in my body for the better part of a year, you know,
Wow.
and it hurt so bad. And that's when I was like, well, I guess this shit is a wrap right now. Like, I mean, I wasn't even thinking right now. All I could think about, like, like you don't understand how your hormones in your body and everything locks in. All I could think about was my baby.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I didn't even give a shit. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? I'm like, whatever it's gonna be is what it's gonna be. But I gotta go back to my baby. That's all I know right now. And then I was in a relationship with their father for a long time. Then we did it again. They had twins, and that was fine. Like I said, I love being pregnant. I love being a mother, and it had unlocked new parts of myself. And even like new understanding. Like soon as I became pregnant, like I started. You're like you have a person in you now, like so now you're vibrating at a different frequency, different thoughts, different like all the biological things are kicking in, and all the synapses are firing, and you just link into a different type of consciousness. So you just like, wow, okay, you know what I mean? That's all overwhelming, and then your body is changing. That's all overwhelming. And then even when I went back to perform, like that was pretty quickly, and I wasn't as prepared. It was so easy to me because I did it for so long. I didn't, you know, practice much, so like my breath control. Like I didn't understand how different it would be. You know what I'm saying? Doing that after have like soon after having a baby, 2 months after pushing out a baby. You
Right.
know what I mean? So yeah, so I was like, then I had my twins, and then I had three babies under 2 years old. So I wasn't doing anything for a while at that point, and that was fine. Because the same thing, like when I had my twins now, they're small. It's like you have two babies in you, so twins are usually premature. So like that first week, I couldn't even bring them home. They were in like the NICU, and I was like, I was just sick. You know what I'm saying? I had my son. I was happy, and they were healthy, so I knew they were coming home. But it's like I said, they're in your body all this time.
Right.
It was like, it was a very challenging pregnancy because I'm older and I have two babies that I'm carrying. It was a challenging birth. You know what I'm saying? But I refused to get a C-section. I had a natural birth. You know what I'm saying? And I went through a lot to bring them into the world. You know what I'm saying? And gave up a lot.
Right.
So I was all in on my family. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I'm thirsty.
Good.
Yeah.
At what point do you get the itch to start creating music again?
Um, it kind of never really went away, but I always have people who are inquiring. Because I was always working. Even if I didn't have until I had my children, I had consist. Even if I didn't have a personal project out, I always had a release out, like every year. You know what I'm saying? Or several releases out because I have so many collabos. And a lot of international ones as well. You know what I mean? That people don't even know about or they don't hear. But I'll go to that place and it's an important record in France, or it's important record in Spain. Locked in that territory, but nobody in America knows that the record exists. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So I was always working, and I came back, and my children probably around the ages of like maybe because they're Irish triplets, so for half a year they're only a year apart, right? So right now my son is 14 and they're 12, but my twins will be 13 in January, and my son will be 14. He won't be 15 until May. You
Wow.
know, so um, my neighbor had a studio. I had a studio. I'd always had a studio too because I was doing, like I said, I have to shop projects, so you have to be able to turn stuff over, and then it's expensive to be going to the studio to record everything. So I had a studio. I would record, and then like we would send like like post stuff out to who the producer would maybe do the mix or the label or whatever the situation was. Um, so my neighbor had a nice studio, and he was just like, you can come over here and work. People were inquiring. And at this time, one of the projects that I did when I came back was the Jazz Spastics project. Um, Move, and like I said, some other compilation projects. Think like the Della project, Let Me Know, and a few things here and there. Some other licensed stuff, some stuff in Spain, stuff in France. My manager at the time, Max, was no, actually, Max was probably my manager right before I had kids, but he was still helping me. Like you got people. You know, I called Max the other day and I said, "Yo, I need something." He'll, he's not my manager anymore, but